From atop the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. David Weatherly is one of the most popular guests that is a regular on this show. He is a master of all things strange and supernatural, traveling the world in pursuit of ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, magic, and everything in between. David became fascinated with the paranormal at a young age. Ghost stories and accounts of weird creatures and UFOs led him to discover many of his early influences. Writers like John Keel, Jacques Vallee, Hans Holzer, and others set him on a course to spend his life exploring and investigating the unexplained. His website, leprechaunpress.com. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. David Weatherly, it is always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio. How you holding up down in your area with everything that's going on?
Dave Scott, always good to talk to you, man. I got to make one quick correction. That website is actually eerielights.com.
That's right. We changed it.
Yeah,
we changed it.
And it will redirect to that, actually, if you go into the old site. But the new site is fantastic. Lots of stuff on there, articles and links to the various books and other products and so forth. So check that out. It is eerielights.com. And otherwise, yeah, I'm holding it up pretty good. I mean, wow, crazy times we're living in, huh?
Absolutely. But, I mean, a guy like you, I mean, you must have pumped out since the last time we talked, what, 20, 30 books? Because you're always writing. I don't know how you're...
I got a few manuscripts ready.
I don't know how your fingers still work on the keyboard. How many keyboards do you go through a year? Be honest.
Oh, they hold up pretty well.
I don't know. I mean, yeah. You are one of the most talented writers out there. You're one of the best researchers, in my opinion. Dave, there are not a lot of well-rounded people out there actually covering this field. And I know we've discussed this in the past, but we always have new audience members listening in who would like to get familiar with you. Why do you take the aspect of looking at everything rather than taking a branch from Bigfoot saying it's Gigantopithecus, or taking a branch from ghosts saying that, you know, it's some sort of weird energy instead of spirits? Why do you encompass everything?
You know, that really goes back to the foundation of how my pursuit in this field developed for me, because, you know, I grew up in a very different era than a lot of the modern investigators, because I started delving into this stuff in the 1970s. And that's, as I refer to it, the PG era, you know, pre-Google. And, you know, back then, man, you had to work for information and for stories and accounts. You didn't just whip your phone out of your pocket and Google something, get a 30-second answer. You know, back in those days, it was much more focused on research in a different manner. And there's a bunch of different pieces to that, because one of the components is that, you know, in the 70s, this stuff really wasn't popular. It wasn't hip. You know, it wasn't part of pop culture. There weren't thousands of television shows on people investigating ghosts and so forth. So, you know, the public perceptions and attitudes were very different. And the other big thing was that back then there was a bit more of a holistic approach, because, you know, when I started, of course, we had Fate magazine, and that was a big influence on me early on when I discovered it. Fate magazine started in the 1940s. And it, you know, it covers a wide range. It's still published, by the way. Covers a wide range of topics. So in a given issue, you'd have articles on Bigfoot, on haunted castles, UFO sightings, and so forth. And when I got interested in this stuff, I was interested in all of it, just across the board. I would read just as many ghost stories as I would books I could get a hold of about UFOs or cryptids and things like that. And some of my early influences, a couple of the people you mentioned at the top, John Keel, Jacques Vallee, they had certain focuses, but they also had much more of a holistic viewpoint. Keel specifically, of course, he investigated across the board from UFOs to weird creature sightings and other strange events. Jacques Vallee, classically, people think he's just a UFO writer, but if you delve into Passport to Magonia, for instance, he talks a lot about things that kind of connect to the fairy realm, the little people. And in conversations I've had with him, he has a pretty open perspective on a lot of this stuff, and considers it all a phenomena that should be examined as a whole. So that's kind of the way I delved into this stuff, in that, one, I was interested in all the different types of phenomena, and two, I started looking at it early on from a holistic viewpoint, not necessarily saying all of this is definitely connected, but at the same time saying, wow, this is all outside of the standard perspective of what people believe is normal. And there's something curious about that alone, the fact that all of this kind of is in that realm. The other big thing that influenced me was when I started delving into understanding a lot of magical traditions from different cultures around the world. I found that, most of these cultures, they talk about this phenomena, and it's an accepted part of their worldview. So they didn't really shut those things down and treat them as something abnormal. Rather, they treated them as something that does indeed exist. So they would incorporate that into their belief systems. Now, in modern times, we'll sort of view that as, a lot of people say this is superstitions, or these are just folk tales and so forth. And you can't simply write that stuff off. You really can't, because when you start to examine it through the modern eye of some of the phenomena we're delving into, then you see the connections there. And I know I'm kind of jumping around some, but these are all just components, different threads that influenced my early development and how I began to delve into and investigate these different types of phenomena.
David, I don't usually take questions and this early in the show, but you said a lot of important things. And for a lot of people out there who are just learning about their own journey, let's go to Drone's question here, who is asking, what are some of the favorite books of yours before you started your own journey?
Passport to Magonia, Jacques Vallee. Virtually anything by Keel. The Mothman Prophecies, of course, most people will recognize. But any of his work at this point, some of his articles and so forth have been collected into various editions that are available on Amazon. And some of them have been released under several titles, Strange Creatures from Time and Space, things like that. Beyond that, it kind of depends on if there's a particular area you're interested in, because there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But if there's one particular area that you're interested in, say cryptids, there are people within each of the fields that certainly put out some important work. Cryptozoology, virtually anything by Lauren Coleman, who runs the International Cryptozoology Museum. If you want to get a little bit more scientific, Jeff Meldrum has put out a fantastic book on Sasquatch years ago. And then you've got, like I said, in any given field, if you're looking at ghost stories, Holzer collected a tremendous amount of information and tales in some of his early books. There's a huge tome that's called Ghost, and it just chronicles tons of ghost stories from all over. So you kind of have to, initially, I guess, start feeling some of these authors out and determine what your individual approach is, what voices resonate to you. And I love to hear a question like that when somebody's asking me about, what books to read rather than what shows do you recommend? Because I tell people, if you want to be serious about this field and you really want to learn how to investigate and research and do these things, turn the television off. It's not a criticism of those shows in terms of, what they are, because they're entertainment and they're giving you little snippets, but they're not something to use as a model for your investigative style. And there's far too many people who do that, these days, rather than going old school. And, like I said earlier, I mean, back when I did this stuff, started doing this stuff, there weren't tons of ghost hunting shows out and everything else. The first thing that came along really for me was In Search Of, the original with Leonard Nimoy. And even that, it's just little bits and pieces, and tantalizing enough back then to say, oh, okay, well, I didn't realize people were delving into this. This is something to pursue and learn about. But, I've always been huge on reading as much material in the field as I can, and I still do that even to this day. I'm constantly got a pile of books that I'm reading, and, I constantly recommend that to people.
David Weatherly is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. David, when you have new people or just people out of curiosity ask you questions like that about what books did you read, it kind of makes me feel like we're heading in the right direction, that people want to learn. They have this curiosity to expand their own natural bounds that they have. Is there room for a lot more investigation to be done by a lot more people out there who have that curiosity?
Is there room? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think that, there's a lot of people who are in the field, but we always go down this rabbit hole on this show when we get into these topics. I really want to emphasize I'm not trying to come off as too overly critical. However, I will say that, unfortunately, it's been the case that in the last 10 years or more, a lot of people who have delved into the field, particularly ghost hunting, have done so in the hopes of that 15 minutes of fame, of landing the next ghost hunting show. And you can see this in the investigative styles and the models that they use in how they go into a situation and investigate a haunting. You can tell there's a very limited number of avenues that they can take because it's stuff they've learned on television. And I have sadly literally had people tell me, that basically giving their credentials has, I've seen every episode of Ghost Hunters. And, well, okay, that's all right. Do you know anything about, Hans Holzer, or do you know who the Warrens were? Do you know what Arthur Conan Doyle had to do with ghost hunting? You start delving into the deeper level of it, and you just get kind of a blank look. And granted, some of that has changed in recent years because the Warrens are certainly well known for the movie franchise and so forth. But I think you see my point. The thing is that for people who are serious about the field and really want to delve into it, yes, there's plenty of room, because the number of people who carry it to the next level is much smaller than you would think that it is. And, there are people out there doing some incredible work. I can think of several of my colleagues right off. I mean, Ross Allison is on the show frequently.
Great guy.
Who's co-written a couple of books with me. His team in Seattle, they have a very advanced approach. I mean, he's developed different ideas and different ways of examining phenomena. Lloyd Auerbach's a good friend of mine. The things he's done in the study of parapsychology, pretty phenomenal. So these people are out there. You just have to be willing to invest the time and the effort to go to that level and delve into this stuff. And that involves, much more than looking at a Twitter feed.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I agree with you. For people getting out there for the first time and they want to maybe go looking in the bush for Sasquatch or Dogman, or go into a local area that's said to be haunted and go look for some ghosts. What recommendation do you have for those just starting out, absolute rookies? Because they look at the television shows or they go on Facebook and people are talking about thousands of dollars worth of equipment that you need. But realistically, you don't need that, do you?
No, not necessarily. And, you kind of use a broad paintbrush there in asking that question. So, because the parameters will be different for different types of investigation. So, if you're talking about ghost hunting, then there's a few standard things and ways that you could approach it. First of all, big rule, don't trespass. And I've seen this time and again over the years, these amateur ghost hunters or ghost hunting groups who decide that, they're going to investigate an abandoned building or, a cemetery that's closed at dusk and things like that. And, I've seen a lot of these characters get arrested for trespass, and I've seen, I forget the location. There was a place that burned down several years ago because, quote, ghost hunters were inside. It was an abandoned place, and they inadvertently started a fire. So, there's plenty of opportunity now to investigate places because there are so many locations that openly say, yes, we're haunted. We allow people to come in and investigate. And there's different ways you can approach doing this. If you're a complete novice, then, a few of the things you can do is a lot of places will offer ghost tours. Sometimes they have sort of a ghost hunting version of their tour. And, those can be really good. Sometimes they can be hokey, but at the same time, it gives you the experience of, hey, I'm doing this. Sometimes they'll give you a piece of equipment to use and things like that. If you want to go up to the next level, then, you start looking at just a couple of basic things. And a lot of people don't realize that it's maybe a lot easier than you think, because almost everybody carries around a cell phone. And guess what? That cell phone has a voice recorder on it. And you know what you can do with a voice recorder, Dave?
Oh, yes.
You can try to capture EVPs. So, you certainly don't have to buy thousands of dollars of equipment to start out. And in fact, I usually recommend that people don't do that because, a lot of people get into the field and they think that they need every piece of equipment that's out there with all the flashing lights and the sound and everything else that they make. But sadly, a lot of people don't take the time to understand what these pieces of equipment actually do. So you learn some of the basics and you understand that, you can look for evidence, in quotes, in a lot of different ways. I mean, the most incredible tool we have is always with us. It's our body, our senses, our mind. And, if you're aware of how you react to certain situations, that will often indicate things that are happening. Learn to monitor your body's signals. You can use your body to notice temperature changes, some of the classic things that happen, cold spots or things like that. And like I said, you've got that cell phone. Hey, turn off the ringer and use the voice recorder and try to capture EVPs. Phones have cameras in them. Is it the best camera you can buy? No, but it's a camera that may catch interesting things. I've seen plenty of people capture fascinating photographs with their cell phones that are not easily explained. Has just a trick of the light or something. So these basic things are a way to start and kind of test the waters, so to speak. But and then of course, the biggest recommendation is that if you're really serious about it, read, and find someone who can act as a mentor and guide you along the process. If there's a group that is in your area and you're comfortable working with them, then that's a way to get in. Be cautious with that, because some of the groups are very political, I guess is the word I would use. But lots of great groups out there, lots of great people who will, teach you what they know and what they've already done, and you can go along with them and learn some valuable skills too.
Dave, we got about 2 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. And I'm going to ask you a question that I've never asked you before. Hard to believe, but there is one out there. What is your favorite realm of study?
You have asked me this before.
No, I have not. I swear.
I love it all.
Maybe some of you. Well, I know that, but I mean, do you lean to one particular area, whether it's ghosts or cryptids or UFOs or consciousness, magic? I mean, you are so spread out with everything, and I know you love it. But what's your favorite? Come on, if you had the golden child, what one would it be?
That's tough, because I find that I will focus on specific areas for time, but inevitably, it all is sort of interconnected for me, and because of that, I kind of float between them all, I guess, and it's really tough to say, this is the one. So, at any given time, there's maybe something in particular that I'm focused on, but overall, no, there's not one in particular that I could say, this is it. I could only study this one.
Oh, you are way too politically correct with your subjects. But you know what? I mean, you live and I will say this, I believe you live a paranormal weirdo's dream. You have done the hard work to get that far. You delve into everything. You've got knowledge about everything. I mean, you're not one of these guys like me who literally knows a little bit about a lot of subjects. So you know a lot about a lot of subjects, and I don't get it. I don't know how you fit it into the brain, but we're lucky that you do. Dave, hold on one second, because we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. David Weatherly is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio, EerieLights.com. If you're looking for a book series that you just want to jump right into, Wood Knocks. Go get his Wood Knocks series, stories about Sasquatch. They are fantastic. Let's do it. We're going to head up David about what he's been experiencing since he's been sitting at home waiting for this whole COVID-19 to end. When we get back on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters thank you so much for taking the time to share with us. We want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show, and my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. Also, we're on Instagram now at Spaced Out Radio Show, so make sure you give us a follow there. Thank you so much. David Weatherly is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He's one of the best authors, researchers in everything paranormal and supernatural. This is what he's been doing his entire career. You can see all of his work and his writing on eerielights.com. Highly suggest you check it on out. David, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Dave.
I got to ask you, over this time that you have been locked down like the rest of us, anything weird happen at your own home or around you?
Well, that's not necessarily related to the lockdown, but I have a lot of haunted objects in my office, so strange things do happen.
Oh, you got to give us an example.
Well, the desk that I typically work at is an antique banker's desk that is haunted, and it has it's one of the old-fashioned alarms in it. So it's just a little button on the side that you would push it, and a bell would go off. Now it actually had two buttons. One of the buttons is long gone, and one button is there, and nothing is hooked up because it's so old. But it has gone off before. So
that's creepy.
This is something that is impossible because there's nothing there to go off, but it's done it anyway. I also have a replica. It's just a replica of the infamous Robert, the haunted doll, that sits in my office, and he has been known to move on occasion, and I find that very curious. This was a special edition that was done years ago, and it's an exact replica except for the size, because the real Robert the doll is fairly large. This one is much smaller, but it's kind of fascinating that I guess because of the replication of his image or something, perhaps, that it will occasionally move about. It sits in a little rocking chair just like the original Robert does, and occasionally it will just move or adjust itself. And like I said, I find that pretty fascinating because that particular doll itself, the replica is not necessarily haunted, but it is as if it has somehow connected into the original Robert's energy field, perhaps because it's made in his likeness. And this is kind of a fascinating topic anyway, because I don't know if you've seen this, but over the last couple of weeks, there was a trend that went on online of, I forget, I think the hashtag was sorry Robert or something. And, we've talked about Robert on the show before, right?
Yes, but we can do it again, okay, because there's still a lot of people who may not know who he is.
Okay, well, and this part's a new thing too, and I know I haven't talked about the replica doll before, but so the original Robert the doll is in Key West, Florida, and this is I covered Robert's story in my book, Eerie Companions: History of Haunted Dolls, and I consider him really the grandfather of haunted dolls, because I know a lot of people know who Annabelle is, but Robert predates that, and it's just such a crazy story. I'll give you the short version. The short version is that Robert was a doll that was given to a little boy in Key West, Florida. The little boy's name was Robert Eugene Otto. Now, when the little boy received this doll as a gift, he promptly dubbed the doll Robert, which was his name. So he gave the doll his name. And from that time on, the doll was known as Robert, and the little boy was known as Eugene, or Gene for short. And he was an only child. As the story unfolds, strange things begin to happen in the Otto household. Dishes crash to the floor. Things are tossed about, and accidents happen. And inevitably, the parents don't see what happens, but the little boy immediately calls out, "Robert did it." So the parents initially think, okay, Eugene's being mischievous and he's blaming it on his doll, his friend. But then, Dave, as the story goes on, things get a little bit stranger, and people begin to report odd things about Robert, that they see him move and so forth. Now, all of this is kind of fascinating. You could think, all right, well, this is kind of a weird, maybe creepy haunted doll story, or maybe it's just a kid. But the kicker is that Eugene, he grows up, as anyone does, and he ends up moving away, going to college, and he gets married. And when he's off living his life, his mother becomes ill. So Eugene brings his bride home to Key West, and they move in with Eugene's mother so that they can care for her. She passes away. They end up inheriting the house. And now that Eugene and his wife are living in the Otto household, he gets out his old friend, Robert the doll, and continues his friendship with this doll. He gives Robert his own room up in the attic of the house. There is Robert-sized furniture that is made for the doll. Eugene's wife thinks it's all very bizarre, of course, but the stories go on. People in the neighborhood, kids particularly, start to report seeing Robert the doll peering down at them from the attic window. And a lot of kids got too scared to walk by that house on their way to or from school, because they said that Robert would stare at them and they would see him moving. People report hearing the sound of little running feet upstairs in the attic when no one is up there but Robert. Now, eventually, other stories come along. One of my favorites is there's a repairman who was working in the Otto household, and he was in the room that Robert was in. He was working on some pipes, as I recall, and he turns around to find that Robert the doll has moved to the opposite side of the room. The repairman packs his bag up and doesn't finish the job. He says, "I'm out of here." So eventually, after Eugene passes away, Robert the doll ends up packed up and donated eventually to a museum in Key West, the East Fort Martello Museum. Robert is put on display in a big glass case. He sits in a rocking chair. He wears a sailor's suit, which one of the researchers who's really delved into the history of Robert has determined they believe the sailor suit was Eugene's as a little boy and was put on this doll. They eventually discovered that Robert the doll was actually a display doll from Germany that had been made. It was a one-of-a-kind display doll that had been made and then later sold after the display was done. So it was Eugene's grandfather who purchased the doll, brought it back from Europe to Key West, and gave it to the little boy. Now, Robert's story and the tales of his unearthly personality continue after he's in the museum, because some of the things that happen include a museum worker comes in to work one morning and finds Robert sitting there in his display case in his rocking chair. But there's something different. He's holding a stuffed lion. Now, the museum staff was very puzzled by this. They began to search around, and they discovered that the stuffed lion came from a display that was elsewhere in the museum, a display of circus animals. So sometime in the middle of the night, somehow, this little stuffed lion had moved from a display case in a different area into the case with Robert. And no one dared take the stuffed toy away from Robert to put it anywhere else. The biggest part of the tales that began to float around Robert involve the concept that he is such a personality that you must ask his permission if you want to take his photograph. If you don't, you could be cursed. Now, a lot of people, Dave, even still, every year, go down there. They take Robert's Robert's picture without permission. Some people will go in there and make fun at him, make fun of his appearance or make jokes about him. Mm-hmm. And the museum constantly gets letters. They have boxes of letters from people who have written to the museum, written rather specifically to Robert and care of the museum, asking for his forgiveness. And I've read some of these letters when I was there. You know, there are things like, I'm so sorry that I made fun of you. I didn't mean to disrespect you. Can you please lift the curse? These people report auto accidents, problems with their relationships. I mean, there's people who go and make fun of this doll and they leave, and immediately things start happening to them. There was a woman who reported that she was there and she and her boyfriend made fun of this of Robert. They left the museum. They found out that they had been checked out of their hotel because something was wrong with their credit card. They later found out that their credit card number had been stolen, so the charge wouldn't go through. The hotel checked them out, pitched their bags out, in the lobby. They got in a fight. They split up. It was one thing after another, and this is just one example. So all these people that constantly write to Robert and ask for his forgiveness, and the latest thing has been that there was a trend within the last couple of weeks of people looking at pictures of Robert online and apparently having ill effects. Now, this is a new twist. I've never heard this before. After all these years, it suddenly comes up. But there's talk that, now simply looking at these pictures and perhaps poking fun at him, who knows what these people are doing, but they're having ill effects from this. So a trend started with a hashtag, sorry, Robert, essentially asking for the doll's forgiveness and asking, again, for a curse to be lifted.
Oh, wow. It's amazing how this just pops up out of nowhere during all of this.
Yeah, it's very strange, isn't it?
Yeah. I got to ask you, in regards to Robert leaving his little bungalow or whatever you want to call it, his case at the museum to get that little lion and bring it in there. Two questions about that. Isn't the case locked? And number two, do they not have cameras around the museum to see what was going on?
Yeah, there was nothing that was picked up on camera for that. Now, that was quite a few years ago, and, the amount of cameras, security cameras and so forth weren't as extensive as they are these days. No one seems to know how it happened or even, of course, the imagination runs wild when people hear this story, wondering exactly what happened. But, really, when we start looking at a case like this, we can kind of go down the rabbit hole anyway and examine a number of different ways that the whole mythos really could have grown around this figure, this doll, because one, it's a very old story. Two, the original version of the tale was actually that Robert the doll was given to the boy by a woman from one of the islands that practiced voodoo, who had worked for the Otto family. And the original tale was, this woman practiced voodoo, and she was angry because the family fired her, so she cursed this doll. Now, that whole myth was later dispelled by primarily by a gentleman named David Sloan, who's done a lot of research into the origins of Robert, Key West researcher. And he's the one who discovered the links with Europe and the Steiff company who made Robert. But, if we look at that story and realize that tale floated around for a long time, and in fact, there's some sources that you look at that still repeat that tale as if it is the origin of Robert the doll. So we've got these different layers of stories associated with him, and we have to consider, what effect that has had in the human consciousness over the years for, years and years of people hearing these stories about this doll and what exactly he has been imbued with on an energetic level. And I say all the time, we know very little about the human energy field comparatively. So when we begin to think about, the ideas that our thoughts can create things or co-create things, and our thoughts can become energy, and you start thinking about thousands of people a year looking at Robert, going to visit him, and thinking about the weight, if you will, of the stories associated with this doll. And, some people would perhaps argue that the whole thing is psychological, that these people who are claiming they're cursed are merely believing that they're cursed and associating things that would have happened anyway. But, there's always that big question for those of us who consider the unknown, in that, would those things have happened? We don't really know that. What we do know is that a very large number of people have similar experiences of going there and causing trouble, so to speak, with Robert and having consequences from it.
Mm-hmm. Is Robert the only, outside of Annabelle, because everybody knows about Annabelle, but is Robert the only doll that is acting this way, almost cursing people for refusing to ask permission to take a photograph? I mean, I think of Mandy the doll up here near me, whom you have been introduced to. She has done some weird things as well, allegedly. And how about other dolls out there? Because I know you have your book on haunted dolls with Ross Allison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we saw Mandy when we were up there for the conference. And, I think that she's a good example of a doll that gets a reaction in large part, perhaps because of her appearance and the sort of unknown origins of where exactly she came from and what happened to her. The photograph thing is pretty unique. I haven't really seen that with other well-known dolls. There is the whole story with Peggy the doll, who started off in Europe and in England and was being studied by a researcher over there. Now she's in Vegas at Zach's Museum, and the original story with Peggy was that she was causing terrible reactions. In fact, there were claims of people having heart attacks from looking at photos or videos of Peggy the doll when the story originally broke. And in fact, when you go to Zach's Museum, Peggy's in a room by herself, and I can tell you that, you know, when the tour goes through, most of the times that I've been to the museum, they'll stop outside this room and they'll tell the story of Peggy the doll. And they give people a choice. You know, you can go inside and view Peggy or not. And it's interesting to me that a museum like that, you know, people are coming there to see the objects and have the experience. And there's always a large portion of the people, the times that I've been there, that will go in and look at Peggy the doll. Now, some of that I think goes back to the whole strength of the phobia, if you will, because there are a lot of people who have a fear of dolls. You know, it's one of the most common phobias, I think, at this point. And it's a very pronounced and a very tangible thing for these people. I've spoken to some of them when I did my History of Haunted Dolls book. You know, I spoke to people who had this phobia, and they talked about how intense it was to be confronted with a doll, you know, just any doll, and let alone the thought of one that was haunted or had some kind of a consciousness or any kind of energy or power or something behind it. So, you know, when presented with a situation like that, the point is that even a lot of people who are interested in the paranormal and different supernatural topics, they won't go that extra step. They wouldn't go through that door to see this doll. And, you know, whether the stories are true of people having heart attacks or what, I'm not sure. Some of those things are, you know, become very difficult to verify. But there have been some strange things that happen around Peggy the doll. Nowhere near the amount of phenomena associated with Robert. Of course, she's not been out in the public that long either. So beyond that, yeah, I mean, those are some of the most intense ones, certainly.
David Weatherly is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got about 40 seconds here before we have to go to break. David, do you own any haunted dolls?
Yes.
They wake you up at night?
No.
Do you hear running around?
No. Well, the Robert replica moves some. There's a ventriloquist doll that moves around a bit, but yeah.
It is what it is. I don't know if I would do that. I don't know if I would do that, man. I don't know. You know, I mean, I have 2 cans from Flight 21, and we actually got on voice recorder that I was allowed to take them. Actually, on a ghost box. Yeah, Bill Holzer got it on a ghost box. We asked permission if I could take two of the cans, and we were told yes twice for confirmation. So that's all I have for haunted objects. That's it. I think that's all I need. That's all I need for the studio. My house is weird enough. David Weatherly is our guest tonight. EerieLights.com is his website, so make sure you go check it on out. Hour number 2. I'm going to hit David up about the siren. Why? Because my now 7-year-old has been bugging me about the siren. What is it? We'll let you know next on Spaced Out Radio.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go, kicking off hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in tonight. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across the continent and on the digital side on Revolution Radio and TalkStream Live. Don't forget, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What am I trying to say? Lithophilus. There we go. Lithophilus is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. We're on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our handle is Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. David Weatherly joins us here every couple of months to talk about everything weird and strange, because when it comes to researching this phenomena, he's literally one of the best. He is an accomplished author. You can find all of his books on eerielights.com as well as Amazon. David, thank you so much for always taking the time for us. We really appreciate it.
Hey, always a pleasure, man.
Now, I got to tell you, about a week and a half ago, my son, who just turned 7 a couple days ago, he starts freaking out because he knows what I do. He knows Daddy is into all the weird stuff. All right. And he starts going off about the siren. And I had no idea what he was talking about. Now, I thought he was talking about the fire hall siren that goes off every now and again here, because we have one of those old school sirens. And I know you've heard it because it went off while you were here. And so you know what I'm talking about. And anyways, he's like, no, Daddy. He goes, there's a creature called the siren, and it's like 20 to 40 feet tall, and it's got long arms, and it's really thin body, and he's so excited about learning, and he's scared about it, that if you talk about the siren, you're going to be in trouble, and if you see it, it comes for you, and it's got heads that look like siren speakers, and he's freaking out, and I had to kind of relax him a little bit, because it was just starting to get, you could see his imagination running at about 100 miles an hour. What about this siren do you know about? How real is this? Is it like Slender Man?
This thing, I know it by the name Siren Head. I think is what I'm sure we're talking about the same thing. It's actually, no, it's completely fabricated. It was actually created by a Canadian artist, a guy who's done a bunch of other similar type of creatures. And it's one of those creepypasta type of images that there's a bunch of fan art and stuff out of it now, and it's completely fabricated. So modern folklore, I guess, if you will, which, to a degree, it's always important to keep up on that kind of thing. Slender Man started off as a completely fabricated figure and eventually morphed into something, very different. But a lot of these things that, show up in this genre, they're presented as if they're real in order to fulfill that creepypasta content, as they call it, something that is professed to be real, even though it's a modern mythos.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking, and reading up on it, I found the same thing with you. But then I started thinking about the whole, Slender Man type of conjuring, where, you know, when you put energy into these sorts of creatures, they end up taking on a life of their own, almost due to that energy. So I'm just wondering if that's the possibility with this creature as well.
You know, the Slender Man is a very unique snapshot of that type of character and its development, and really the way it's developed from the beginning, it's going to be hard to replicate. Now, for those who don't know, Slender Man was created as part of a contest, and originally it came from a forum called Something Awful. The idea that was presented was to create to fabricate a creature or an alien. The parameters were pretty wide. It essentially had to be something paranormal in nature. So, you know, it could be a new cryptid or an alien or a ghost or whatever. The idea was to create this figure and present it through the contest to make it go viral on the internet. That was the whole concept, was let's come up with something and make it go viral and make people believe it. So if you, the last time I checked, this forum is still up. The original thread is still up. And it's I think, thousands of entries. Back when I wrote Strange Intruders, I read through the whole thing. A lot of it's very tedious. But in the initial stages, people were just presenting different things, you know, different creatures and things they had photoshopped and so forth. And along comes this user who presents something very subtle, actually. And the early pieces that related to Slender Man, first of all, he's unnamed originally. And I went through a couple of different names. At one point, they were calling him the Operator, was associated with this. And it was the Slender Man, two separate words, eventually morphed into the singular word Slender Man. And the initial photographs were things, a lot of people have probably seen one of the children on the schoolyard playing on the play sets and so forth. And in the background is this very sinister looking figure. Is very tall, in a black suit with no face, and has what appear to be extra arms, and sort of tentacles as it morphs into art later on. And these stories begin to surface about this character that lurks in the background and is responsible for disappearances and various tragedies and so forth. It really picked up several notches when some industrious people made a video series called Marble Hornets. And it told the tale of a filmmaker who was trying to make a film piece and was being plagued by this character. And the filmmaker disappears purportedly during the course of this thing, and it's all due to this Slender Man. The thing that happened with this figure, a number of things. The entire thread was taken over by this character, and other people started contributing to the whole, building this mythos as it went along. People introduced what appeared to be wood blocks from the 15th century depicting the Slender Man. Other people introduced things from the 1950s, and all these different components come in to show the lineage of this character. And it did indeed begin to take hold on the internet and spread around in a lot of different sources. But along the way, something very curious happened. What happened was that as it became widespread, other people unassociated with the forum began to report encounters or sightings of a character that matched the description of the Slender Man. Now, some of these people swore that they had never seen the image online, that they hadn't heard of the Slender Man. They didn't know what it was. They just knew that they had an encounter with some bizarre entity. And when they described it, it came out matching the description of the character that was created on this form. So this one is one day that really, as I said earlier, sends us down the rabbit hole, because we have a lot of different possibilities here. Slender Man very well could be a modern tulpa, because for the first time we have a character that's created, and the concept immediately goes around the world via the internet. And through social media and mass consciousness, all of these people started contributing to the idea of this Slender Man, the belief that it was a real character. Now, if tens of thousands of people or more suddenly believe something is real, what happens? Does it become real? Another potential, of course, is that because this idea got out into people's consciousness, that it could be some other malicious entity that is taking the concept as a easy avenue to come in and manifest, and still to cause chaos or whatever. And those are just a couple of the ideas for how this thing has taken hold. What's interesting is that the original creation, the gentleman who came up with the concept basically said that he just thought of creating essentially the boogeyman, something that the classic boogeyman that was under the bed. There are implications that he drew on some European influence. There's a couple of figures in old European lore that refer to the Schwarzman, the dark man, or the tall man. So, I think the foundation was maybe rooted in a very basic concept of the thing that so many kids fear. What's lurking under the bed? What kind of monster? It's not seen, so what exactly is it? And he portrayed that by making it this dark figure that's very somewhat indistinct with no face. So that is very disturbing, because while it looks human, there's not facial features or anything to really relate to, and the extra arms that imply that it's always ready to take you, to interfere. So some very core concepts of what gets into people's psyche in an unnerving way, presented in a modern form that really took hold and continues to be something that people report even today. I still get occasional reports of people saying that, swear that they've encountered this thing in reality.
I don't know what I would do if I saw something like that. I really don't. I mean, you almost have to wonder, do you try and capture it? Do you try and chase it down? Take its hat as a souvenir? I don't know. I really don't know. I find it intriguing that the energy of people have literally made this some sort of creature that they're claiming to see. I mean, it almost sounds too surreal or unreal.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, but we certainly have comparisons if we delve into the tulpa idea, and it's something that I've examined pretty extensively. Now, the concept of tulpa goes back to early 1900s in Western culture, but it goes back even further back than that in Eastern culture, because the word comes from Tibetan language. And this idea was presented by a woman named Alexandra David-Niel, who was from Belgium, went to Tibet and learned about the concept there from high lamas. So, she brought this concept back to Europe, and there is a European version, sort of, because there was the concept in magical traditions of a thought form which is something that can be created from pure thought. So, again, I guess we're getting back into the idea of the human energy field and exactly what we're capable of as human beings, something that we still don't know a whole lot about. You know, it hasn't been that many years that science actually admitted that the human body has an energy field, that it emits energy. So, you know, we're still a long way from completely understanding that. So we have to question what exactly, you know, what are we doing unconsciously? You know, what's happening through the collective consciousness? Certainly we can see practical effects. You know, people suddenly, I almost get infected with an idea, you know, or get influenced by public opinion. And those sound like things that aren't necessarily energy-based, but they are. They really are. Because, you know, we're talking about, yes, there's a mental and a psychological component, but there's also, you know, the energy of being swept up into something. We're seeing that now with some of the riots that are going on across the United States. People are getting swept up into these ideas, and it's not always completely conscious thought. They're just being pulled in. And if we go back and look at that from the component of pure creation and say, okay, what exactly is happening when the collective consciousness suddenly focuses on the belief of one singular thing existing, something like the Slender Man, or even to a smaller degree, you know, even if we've got a few thousand people or 100 people, if 100 people are all sitting focusing on a singular thing, what happens? You know, really what happens? There was an experiment that was done many years ago where a group of people focused on meditating with the idea of creating a wave of peace to lower the crime rate. And it worked. This is an experiment that has been replicated a few different times. And because these people are around the clock focused on this singular idea, it had an effect in the radius of where they were. So, you know, that again says something about what can the human consciousness, the human energy field rather, create if we're consciously directing it. If we're subconsciously or unconsciously directing it, then we can get similar effects. And unfortunately, people respond very easily to fear. So when presented with an idea that is frightening, like the Slender Man, and the idea that, oh, this thing is real, then a chill goes over the skin of a lot of people, doesn't it? Because they think, oh my gosh, this thing is out there, you know. And while some people may sit and scoff at it and say, wow, yeah, you say it's real, but I don't believe that, they're still on some level wondering, aren't they? Well, wait a minute, is this thing real? You know, even the guy who's, you know, the school blowhard, who says, oh, yeah, it's all BS, and I don't believe that. He's quietly wondering, is this thing real?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's part of the mystery. Part of the mystery. Joey has a question in our SOR Space Travelers Club for you, David. David Weatherly is our guest tonight, EerieLights.com. What is your personal method of controlling your fear when immersed in a foreboding situation or location? How do you ground yourself?
I have some personal practices that I've developed over the years, and I usually don't talk about those openly, but just because I encourage everyone to find what works for them, you know, whether it's spiritually or logically, to create a level of protection for themselves. You know, people are always asking me, how do you protect yourself? And, you know, even if I told you what I did, it wouldn't necessarily work for you, because you have to find that grounding that works for you. Often that is spiritual tradition that you are comfortable with and that you were brought up in. And this goes back to some ideas we've talked about on the show before, Dave, in that, you know, it's kind of silly to see some of these groups who go in and perform, for instance, a Catholic-style house blessing on a home that maybe Buddhists are living in, or, you know, maybe the people are you know, practice Judaism or something. It doesn't work because it doesn't resonate with those people, and it's not necessarily comforting for them. And, you know, I constantly see a lot of these complete mishmash versions of, you know, people saying the Catholic prayer and waving around sage and, you know, doing something wicked, and you know, this conglomeration. Hey, if it works for them personally, well, that's fine, that's great. But you know, don't go in saying this is a cure-all. So I really encourage people to look to their own core beliefs and spiritual systems and decide what works for you. You know, often it can be something as simple as you know, wearing a symbol that helps you to focus or helps you to center or helps you realize your protection, whether that is spiritual protection or the protection of your own grounding and consciousness and awareness. And certainly, you know, I've been in some very strange situations, and from a practical level, it's always important to, one, be aware, because a lot of times the dangers, you know, they're not from some creature or from some spirit. A lot of times they're from being in a dangerous place, you know, that there's hazards or crime or whatnot. So you just have to consider protection across the board. But in terms of spiritual practice, find what works for you. And if you're not sure, test some different things and find what feels comfortable and what feels right.
And I guess that's about it. What feels good? What works for you? I mean, does religion matter? Does personal belief matter in the whole aspect of grounding yourself?
And in grounding yourself, not necessarily. I think, however, that religious belief and spiritual ideas play a huge part in the role of you know, ghost hunting and other areas of this field, because even the people who say that it doesn't, a good portion of the time, they were brought up in some religious tradition that heavily influences their perspective and how they're relating to and handling this phenomena. Ghost hunting is an easy one to pluck out and say, here's a clear example. And I'll give you probably the most glaring example, the topic of Ouija boards. You know, I've heard people, you know, I've had people claim to me that, you know, 95% of all hauntings have to do with a Ouija board. You know, that's kind of crazy. You know,
David, I'm gonna stall you right there. Let's continue on with that when we get back from the break here. David Weatherly, EerieLights.com is his website, breaking everything down on grounding and what just literally freaks us out, because he's good at that. EerieLights.com, once again, is his site. Go to Amazon for his books as well. More on Spaced Out Radio next.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rocking Out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR News Wire. Follow us on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio as well. David Weatherly is here tonight. He comes in every couple of months just to update us, educate us, and, slap me around a little bit when it comes to the paranormal and supernatural. And why not? Everybody needs a good David Weatherly story in their life. His website, eerielights.com. You could check out his Wood Knocks Bigfoot series. It's phenomenal. I highly suggest you do. David, welcome back.
Thanks, man.
I want to change topics here a little bit, my friend, if you don't mind. I know you were in story time previous to this, but if you want to finish that story, that's kind of cool, or we can move on.
No, we're good. Just keep rolling.
All right, let's just roll. There are so many books out there and stories that need to be written. Which story are you looking forward to telling the most that maybe a lot of people haven't heard of yet or isn't very well covered? Is there a story out there like that, Dave?
Oh, there's lots of them, but you kind of hit me with a question that I sort of won't answer because I've gotten to where I don't really talk about what I'm working on until it's kind of right there, until it's completed and I'm starting to promote it. And I guess that's just a personal quirk or something maybe, but I normally have several projects going at the same time, and I've got several manuscripts sitting now that some are completed and some are in various stages. So I can tell you the next couple of books I have coming out. The next installment in my Cryptid States series is coming out, and that is Monsters at the Crossroads, Cryptids and Legends of Indiana. And then I also have, actually what will be out before that is the next entry in the Haunted series that Ross Allison and I are doing, and it is Haunted Churches. So that will be, that's with the designer now, so it's probably only a couple of weeks away or so. In fact, maybe next time around, maybe I'll have Ross come on with me and we'll talk about that book. But,
Absolutely.
In terms of stories, I think that there's so many potential topics in this field. And, there's some things that people just write about constantly. How many books on Roswell do we have? How many general books on Sasquatch? But the interest is there. And I think that as long as you have a unique perspective and an aspect of the story to tell that maybe, or a way that it hasn't been explored, then, I think it should be done. The more we have out there that's accessible, the better.
All right. But the topics are just there. They're just out there. It's a matter of, because I'll be honest with you, I want to go. This is what really was what I wanted to talk with you about, because we'll get into something else next. But when it comes to topics, I think a lot of us are still waiting for that next Betty and Barney Hill story, that next Travis Walton story, or the Conjuring type story that's really going to hit home because we know what it's all about. Maybe we've experienced it ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
is that story still relevant? Is it still out there?
Oh, I think so. And honestly, we probably don't really have a way of knowing what that is until it's revealed. And what I mean by that is that, the things you mentioned, they were all new when they were presented, right? When the Betty and Barney Hill abduction happened, it was a very unique case for the time period. And, when the Interrupted Journey came out, I mean, that was nothing like that specifically had necessarily been published before. There were so many different unique aspects to the case. The same with Travis Walton's case. So when Fire in the Sky came out, of him telling his story, I mean, it was very different. And, there can be another 50 books about Travis's abduction, but they're not going to be the same as that first one. The same for the Hill case. So, yeah, but in that sense, the next thing that's going to come out is a story that, maybe we don't know about yet, or maybe some person out there knows. They just haven't told the tale yet.
Well, let's hope that we can get it out there, because it would be a great movie. We all need a good movie. Like that.
Yeah,
I hope so. I hope so. I'm leaning towards Chris Bledsoe, but that's me. That's just me. No insider information there.
No, I mean, I think you're talking about a story that really hasn't been put out to the public yet at all.
True.
Really, that's what you're talking about until the moment it debuts. You think about the things that happened with Travis's case, when it all occurred. So you had the whole media wave, and then of course, much later on, he tells the story and it gets published. But I don't know. I mean, there's certainly fascinating cases out there that haven't been presented very, very much, and there's some that have happened in other countries that haven't been overly exposed in the United States. I mean, you and I have talked a bit about the Zanfretta case, and that's one that really, really fascinates me, from Italy. And not a lot of people here know about it. But, if you're talking about getting it out to the masses in something like a movie, then, there's a different level of that, too. And even some of the classic tales haven't been told in that sense. I mean, I'd love to see someone make a really good movie of the Kelly Hopkinsville encounters. I mean, that's just a crazy story. And it's, it's got all the right components, and it's a mystery that we'll never really solve, probably.
True. I agree with you there. David Weatherly is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. David, with everything going on in the United States government when it comes to UFOs, and it's getting a little weird out there right now. Now they're being proposed as of this week from Marco Rubio about putting funding into the unidentified aerial phenomena. This leads me to absolutely, and I think that's incredible. I really do, and I think that's a good move. And we could talk about that in a few minutes, but this kind of leads up to my question. Are the days of the Men in Black, if they are a government agency, over now because UFOs, UAPs is becoming a daily topic around the media?
I would speculate no. And I'll tell you why. Even as this continues to develop, there's always going to be a portion of it that is held in secret. I think that there are going to be pieces that the government continues to try to hide or conceal. And if we consider that, portions of these sightings and encounters have to do with the black budget and various military projects, there's always going to be government officials who believe in the need for secrecy within, certain aspects of this phenomena. So I don't expect that it's necessarily going to change in that regard. You and I have talked a lot about disclosure and, my opinions on it. I mean, I think we're living in the time of disclosure, and it's not really by government actions. It's the government is kind of behind the stick on this because, or behind the curve on this because, it's disclosure is happening just by the number of people who are saying, no, wait a minute, we know something's going on, and independent organizations and other foreign governments who have released their information. So, disclosure is happening by default.
Okay, so let's fast forward to what is happening now then. Is there a need anymore for Men in Black to come knock on some experiencer's door and say, yeah, you may not want to talk about that anymore, or we recommend you to just shut up about that UFO landing? Are we still going to see that?
Well, potentially, yeah, because if it's something that the military is trying to conceal, absolutely. A good example is, look at all of the furor over Area 51 and the Storm Area 51 event. Now Area 51, everybody associates that with UFOs, but we know that there are secret military projects that take place out there. So, we get all these people professing that they're going to storm the area and force, a revelation of what's at that area, which, as we know now, it really came to not much of anything. But the point is that the government was well prepared to protect that base and the secrets that lie within it, be they UFO secrets or secrets of national security. So, if we consider that a portion of Men in Black encounters are government agents shutting people down from leaking out any information that could compromise projects, then yes, certainly we're going to continue to see some of those incidents to a degree.
All right. Well, let's fast forward to Marco Rubio, the U.S. Senator who is part of the Intelligence Committee, and he wants to make unidentified aerial phenomena part of the next fiscal agenda and believes that there should be funding in regards to this. Nick Pope recently came out saying that maybe when they were briefed by the U.S. Navy that some of these senators were a little disturbed about what they had seen because they're going to see a lot more than what we got to see with the 3 videos that were released by the Navy. So my curiosity and my question to you is this a good thing or a bad thing that potentially taxpayer dollars might be used right in front of your noses to look for UFOs?
Well, this is, just a personal opinion, but I'm much more comfortable with tax money going for that than for a lot of the other things that it goes for. So, from that perspective, okay, I'm sure a lot of people would be upset about it. I think it's pretty fascinating that this has come up, for a number of reasons. One is just because of the time period that we're living in and the things that are being revealed. I mean, the Tic Tac UFO video alone that disrupted, some of the government officials. It's kind of interesting that it's coming out of Rubio, who's a senator from Florida, because Florida has a large number of UFO sightings on a yearly basis. And with their geographic positioning and everything, it's kind of fascinating that he's the one who got the spotlight on this whole thing. And he acknowledged in his speech the efforts of, the UAP task force with the Navy intelligence. So I think it's pretty interesting just because this is a big new development and it's out in the open. It's not something that they're quietly doing behind the scenes, and it doesn't appear to be anywhere near, say, for instance, Project Blue Book that was aimed at shutting things down and debunking things. Now they're taking a very different approach and saying this could be a potential threat and we need to look at it. And you're right. Some of these senators may be very disturbed at the information that they've received, and probably with good reason. You're looking at things in the sky that behave in ways that no other craft that's known to exist behaves. So there's good reason and good intent, I think, behind them saying we better take a look at this and figure out what's going on.
Question from Fitness Girl in our YouTube chat. Do you believe TTSA has been a help or a hinder to ufology?
Oh, boy.
Loaded question. I just ask him, man. I just ask him.
If I'm honest, probably some of both. I mean, it garnered a lot of media attention, but we sort of get into the spectrum again of, this is a tough one to navigate. We sort of get into the perspective again of entertainment versus valid research and who's doing what. Because of the very nature of how the organization was formed and all the attention being put on DeLong, and everybody says, "Oh, this guy's he's a fantastic researcher." Well, why? Why is he a fantastic researcher? Because he's a celebrity who suddenly decided to become interested in the topic? That doesn't make any sense to me personally. To me, the true stars in studying this field are people, like Jacques Vallee. But the timing of it is not really surprising because of all the attention being shifted over to aerial phenomena. So I think, like I said a moment ago, I think there's probably some of both. I think there's some good and some bad. But ultimately, the question will be answered by what direction it goes and what results we see. Because personally, I haven't really seen anything yet in terms of results.
All right, this leads to a follow-up question from Jules in our YouTube chat, who is asking, do you think it's plausible to have this public report in 180 days like they were asking, and why so fast, in your opinion?
Oh, they'll have something, but I don't. I personally don't expect any solid answers in such a brief amount of time. And I think as to why they're asking for it so quickly, I think again it maybe reflects back to what you were saying, Dave, is that suddenly this is thrown in the spotlight, and some people have gotten very disturbed and quickly decided we want some answers and we want them right away. But, we have to face the reality that this very well may get mired in bureaucracy and government papers. And to demand an answer to something that people have been studying for decades is, that's a big call for something that's probably not going to be instantly fulfilled.
It is going to be interesting to see where it plays out. Is this a good thing that they're discussing it in public? Because the one thing that has always been the determination factor of everything is that this has always been a national security measure. And, we keep those things quiet. We don't need to talk about the UFOs or the aliens to the people out there. Let's just deny that we've ever been watching. Is this the start, in your opinion, to some sort of actual disclosure?
I do think it's a good thing, and I also think it was something that has been inevitable, because how far can you go with denying something like that, especially when, as I said earlier, other foreign governments are releasing the information and saying this is everything we have, this is it. So they were sort of backed into a corner in a sense. And it got to the point where something had to be done. Now, I fully believe that what is being discussed publicly is only a portion of what's going on and what's really being discussed behind closed doors. So the big question will be, how much do they choose to reveal? But I'm still adamant that we are living in disclosure just by default, because so much of this is coming out into the open, from other sources, from independent organizations and from other governments that have completely opened their files and said, okay, this is what we have. We don't understand it. So, some of the larger governments in the world have been more hesitant because it's a big thing for them to admit that they don't have the answers. And that's where the crux of the problem is for them. How do they navigate this and say, okay, we're studying this because we don't have the answer and we can't give the answer, but we're going to pretend we know exactly what's going on. It's kind of full circle with what went on with Blue Book. They didn't have the answers, and they basically said, well, we're going to create this study and we're going to come up with the answers one way or the other. And yeah, they did one way or the other, simply by saying no. But in the course of all that, what did we get? We got, Hynek, who started out as a skeptic and then came to believe that something unexplained was going on.
Do you believe that they do know deep down, as we got about about 2.5 minutes left? Do you think somebody does know what's going on? It's just the majority haven't been let into the private club, so to speak?
Yeah, I think there are people with varying levels of knowledge that would probably be mind-boggling for some of the public in terms of UFOs and potential alien presence. And there are people who know things that are never going to open up about it. That's just the way it is. But we sort of have things coming at us from many different directions right now, because we have these government officials who are stepping out and saying, we're studying this, we want to know, more. Rubio is a good example. I think he's very curious, and I think he's concerned, but I don't think he has advanced knowledge of what's going on. But I think he's suddenly realizing something more is going on. We better get to the bottom of it. And then the other side of the coin is we've got all of these scientists who are now making amazing discoveries. And what was the latest thing? They said that there were at least 36, I think, 36. potential alien civilizations within range of us. I mean, that's crazy. And look at how, in a way, how little effect that had to the populace. People were saying, oh, okay. It's so much more acceptable now, whereas 50 years ago, people would say, oh, this is science fiction, what are people talking about? 36 alien worlds. But, now it's just like, oh, okay, 36 civilizations out there.
I think it too, Dave, has a lot to do with a dying off, highly religious North American population. Okay, like if I look at my parents, okay, my grandparents, they would never believe in this. It was evil. It was signs of the devil. And, that's not to smite anybody who has religious belief. It's just what I've discussed with my mother. That's just a simple conversation. And I think it's because, too, these younger generations, like the 40 and under crowd, the 35, and I even look at my son as young as 7 years old, they're paying attention. They want to know. They're reaching for the stars, and I think that's a good thing. I really do, because I think it's going to bring in some sort of influence that they're not going to be scared when it does come down. David Weatherly is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. EerieLights.com is his website. We have him for another 30 minutes here. Then we'll get to the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. Stay tuned. More Spaced Out Radio coming up in Hour 3.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hey, Space Travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there. The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, We're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Kicking off the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. We welcome back everyone listening in across the continent on our terrestrial affiliates and on the digital side on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Oh, where is it here? There it is. Lithophilus. Lithophilus is your password, or it's probably Lithophilus. That's probably what it is. I don't know, but the clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. On Instagram, we are Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Twitter, at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we introduce David Weatherly, one of the top researchers in North America, and I would say the world, when it comes to investigating everything from fairies and gnomes all the way to aliens and UFOs. His website is eerielights.com. You can find all of his books there as well, including his Woodknock series and his Haunted series as well. David, welcome back.
Thanks, man.
No problem. Question coming from a gentleman who you know as well, Jeff Webster. He works with Merle on Haunted Crew of Canada. He's asking, if you could discover only one conclusively in the subjects, would it be alien life, Sasquatch, ghosts, and why?
Wow. I guess I'll take that very broadly, and he's saying, inconclusively, or conclusively, I think is what he means, yeah. So, wow, that's tough. I guess I would go with alien life, just because of the impact that it would have on such a large scale. All of those are tough, because I know already from myself. So, I've kind of proven it to myself, and I haven't really set out in this field to prove these things to other people. I think if you start in the field with that goal, you've got a tough road ahead of you, because there's always going to be people that, the old adage, you'll never convince a skeptic, and a believer doesn't need proof. And, the thing is that, a Sasquatch could stroll in and throw a skeptic over his shoulder and head off into the woods. And, the guy would stumble back out claiming he was abducted by a bear or something. It's just one of those things. There's certain people that are never going to believe. They're always going to deny, and there are plenty of people that have never seen a Sasquatch or even a track in the wild, and they're absolutely convinced that the things are out there. So, all of these topics, they have people on both sides that believe or deny. And, if you want conclusive proof, the question is, why do you want it? if you want it for something that's going to create a dynamic effect, then any of those things is going to, completely change the world from many perspectives. Aliens and ghosts alone will change the world from a scientific perspective, from a religious perspective, and lots of other things. So I don't know. I guess when it comes down to it, I'm fine with coming up with proof on any of those things.
See, for me, it would be Bigfoot. It would be, and the reason why it would be is because I personally do not believe that a minimum of 50% of this planet, its residents, are ready for any type of reality that aliens and alien civilizations are out there and potentially visiting us. I don't believe that for a second. That's why I think Sasquatch is kind of the way to go with that, because there is so much evidence out there. The majority of this area that we call North America is so full of wilderness that it's not surprising that we haven't found it yet. It really isn't, especially the more north you go. And I think that it's out there. I mean, I've seen it, so I know. I like you said, I mean, those who have experienced it don't need convincing. But I think if we've seen anything, I think it'll be Sasquatch that is first. I really do.
No, that's a different question, though. What's going to happen first is a different question. And, as to your statements, I would actually disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. One, I think that people have been being conditioned for a very long time in terms of the existence of alien life forms. Now, much of this has come through entertainment, but how many movies and television shows portray races from other planets? It's been a constant in our culture for a long time now. The sci-fi films of the 50s, they were kind of a different thing. They played on the sort of, fear and panic of the idea of it, but that was kind of the starting point, wasn't it? Then we get to something like Star Trek, the original series, which places it in the context of exploration and discovery. And ever since then, I mean, it's been nonstop, and we get a wide range of this stuff, from continued Star Trek series up to movies like Independence Day that give us an apocalyptic version of aliens landing and, destroying things. So I think that for many, many years, people have been being conditioned to the idea that at some point our race is going to interact with races from other planets. Look at what happened several years ago with the Vatican announcing that, hey, if aliens come down, they'll be welcomed into the fold of the church. Now, the point is that, all of those things seem to a degree outrageous if you sit quietly and think about it in logical terms. But at the same time, again, there's all this cultural conditioning that's been going on. Ghosts, however, that's another matter. If someone suddenly comes up with absolute proof that ghosts exist, something that the masses can't deny, that would rock the very foundations of most religious traditions, because most religious traditions have very strict views of the afterlife and the spirit world. And in a lot of those traditions, anything that is not of this physical plane, if it's not, God or his entourage of angels, then it is something demonic. So you're talking about something that would rock the faith of millions of people around the world.
Very true. But you could say the same thing about aliens and the fact that we don't know what they are doing. Yes, we're more conditioned for them through movies and Hollywood and television shows and biopics, whatever it may be. But we're also being fed a very serious negative threat and a negative narrative comparatively to what we saw in the past in the 70s and 80s with Close Encounters of the Third Kind and AET.
Sure, and like I said, and I agree with you to an extent, but like I said, I believe that the masses aren't really being conditioned to accept the idea that the spirit world, that ghosts exist. But it is being conditioned to accept the idea that alien races exist. And some religions are even preparing for that inevitable revelation. When you've got things like the Vatican coming out and saying, okay, we'll welcome them into the fold as more of God's creations. They're paving the way to comfort people and say, all right, it's all right. Don't be upset that the little green men landed. We're going to baptize them all and everything will be okay. So, yeah, there are threats and, it's an entirely different topic, but any of these topics would upset a certain segment of the population. And of course, all of them are very big questions and challenges for the world's governments to deal with.
Very true. Very true. It's an intriguing topic nonetheless. What about sea monsters, man? Are you do you think we could prove
those all the time?
Yeah.
And I'm saying been that long that it hasn't been that long that the giant squid was thought to be a myth, and that's verified now. And there are so many other creatures that are discovered constantly. We know so little about the depths of the ocean, and the more we're able to scientifically explore that, I think more and more weird creatures are going to be revealed. People are always asking me, what cryptid do I think is going to be found next? And, I almost always say, well, it's going to be something from the water, because we're reaching points where we can go deeper and explore more, and we're constantly finding other things that we didn't know existed in different parts of the ocean.
I'm still waiting for Megalodon to come back, man. Still waiting.
Well, yeah, that's a fascinating topic, but do you really want it to come back?
No, but that's why I don't do the ocean, Dave. That's why I don't do the ocean, man, because I know the first time Megalodon is spotted that it'll be with, my ass hanging out of its teeth. All right? I know exactly what's going to happen there. I don't need that. That would really ruin a day. Not going to lie, really ruin a day. But I honestly believe that there is something out there that could be. I mean, you look. I mean, it wasn't until recently when Big Blue was spotted, and she is a 20. What did they call her? 20 feet and what? 4 tons, 4 tons of shark.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's one.
Yeah. Well. And I think we've, if we go on land and talk about the land creatures, I think we've got a good chance in the next, I don't know, 1 to 5 years maybe of solid evidence of the thylacine still existing, because I'm sure they're still out there, and there's more and more, compelling little bits of footage and catches on camera and sightings of the creature. So I think, that's one I'm really kind of personally rooting for, so to speak, just because it's always amazing to see those survival stories. This is an animal thought to be extinct since the 1930s by the general scientific community. Yet there's a lot of people who are convinced that it still exists, and sightings have continued to modern times. So I'm kind of looking forward to that one being proven, to the scientists who, to the extent that they can't deny, okay, well, yeah, maybe it's not extinct, it's still out there.
Oh, that's just so wrong. So wrong to even think about that. So wrong, man, because I'm scared of the ocean enough. Okay, like I don't want anything bad with ocean creatures. Okay, I really don't. I think they all got a place, as even great whites. All right, even great whites. But I mean, jellyfish useless, absolutely useless. Okay, they're like mosquitoes. They're like mosquitoes. I could do without the jellyfish. However, I could say this. I think there is something bigger out there. And I think it's only a matter of time. I mean, look down in Australia, a few years ago, and I'm sure you recall this, same as a bunch of our listeners. There was a great white shark. I think it was like a 12 or 15 foot that was caught in the nets, and it had a bite out of it. One bite that went right around the underneath of the body on up, right to the spinal cord of this shark. And they measured that. They figured it was a 25-foot bite from the jaw line. I mean, that's huge. That is huge. Yeah. I mean,
it's
something's
it's kind of mind-boggling. But again, we know so little about the depths of the ocean that it's difficult to imagine to a certain degree what exactly is living down there. The megalodon, you kind of hung up on this thing, so the thing is that, it's possible. I mean, there have been, aquatic creatures that were thought to be mythical and surfaced. I mean, of course, the coelacanth is a famous example in cryptozoology. The giant squid. I mean, these things, were thought to be long extinct, and suddenly, they resurfaced and they were proven real. So, yeah, it's certainly conceivable that there is a much larger predator, much larger shark down there that we just haven't seen in many years.
Well, I got to tell you here, we got about 6 minutes left with you tonight, and as always, it flies on by here, and we haven't touched on anything ghostly. In everything that we could prove as potentially to be real, why do we always seem to forget about spirits and ghosts? Is it because we just expect them to be there all the time? Lots to prove there.
Well, I don't know if we forget about them. I think there's a lot of people who are looking for that proof, but I think that one of the difficulties with that topic is it's not something that is physically tangible in the same way that, for instance, a cryptid would be. Or, even a member of another alien, of an alien race that would come down. So it's a very different type of phenomena, a very different topic to deal with. And again, as I stated earlier, this is a topic that, if proven with certainty, to the general populace, would deeply affect religious beliefs of people all over the world, because it would go to the very core of a lot of these religious traditions. And how do you reconcile that? What do you do with someone who has, for instance, been a practicing Catholic for 60 years, and they believe certain parameters that they believe about death and the afterlife, or the lack thereof, and heaven and hell and all of these things. And suddenly, Uncle John is there in spirit form, and it's completely relatable and understandable that no, it is him. It's not a manifestation of the devil. This is something that would completely go against the core beliefs of that person. And how do they reconcile that? So you multiply that by thousands of millions of people, really. You're rocking the entire religious foundation of the planet to a degree. But again, this is a phenomenon that is very difficult to prove in the sense that, where does the tangible aspect come in? Now, people are going to be thinking, okay, well, I've had experiences with spirits and it is very tangible and physical. Yes, it is for you personally. For many people, it is personally, because there are plenty of people that have those direct experiences. And many of these people on an individual level can reconcile it with their religious or spiritual beliefs. But that's very different than suddenly having something that occurs on a planetary level, because a lot of people are not prepared for that. And despite the popularity of things like ghost hunting shows and, on reality television, there's still a lot of people who can't make that leap and completely accept, okay, somebody can be here in spirit form, somebody can still be communicating with me who's passed on. It's a very difficult thing, because this is a realm, I think, that is very personal in a completely different way than any of these other phenomena that we've discussed. You can relate to this and connect to this in a completely different fashion than you could the topic of Bigfoot or an alien comes down in a spaceship. This is something that is emotional and, tugs at the heartstrings and the mindset of people on a very, very direct level, very differently than these other phenomena would.
Well, you know what? I would love to see more true investigation into the whole spirit realm and ghosts, because the one thing that we all can guarantee of this world is we're all going to die. And I'm not trying to end this on a morbid note or anything, but I think for a lot of us out there, my friend, we definitely want to know that life continues on the other side. And to me, I think that's a huge part of the mystery that I would love to be able to solve, especially for my own anxiety. And there's a lot of people out there. And I think that's what we got to be reaching for.
Yeah. And really, when we go back to the question that Jeff asked, I mean, really that's the ultimate question out of those three topics, isn't it? Yes. What exactly is on the other side? What's the nature of the spirit world? So, that's that's something that we're all going to eventually find the answer to.
Absolutely. David, we got a minute left with you tonight, and I appreciate you once again coming on, and we will be talking to you again in the month of August. I want to say thank you for being a good fan and a friend of this show. Let everybody know where they can find your books.
EerieLights.com is the website. You'll find all kinds of updates there on things that I'm up to, new projects that are coming out, as well as a listing of previous books, and all the books are available at Amazon.com. So please check out those sources. Eerie Lights also has an Instagram page and a Facebook page, so you can follow all of those things. Instagram is fairly active. You can check it out. And, please like those pages and follow along. And I look forward to chatting with all of you guys in a couple of months.
Yeah, and we just followed you from our new Instagram page, Spaced Out Radio Show. So I love your logo, the glowing lantern with the skull in it. That is fantastic. That's got to be Sam Sheeran. Has to be Sam Sheeran. Yeah. Of course it is. David Weatherly, everybody. Good friend of this show. Great guy. Fantastic hair. And one of the best researchers when it comes to everything strange, weird, supernatural, paranormal, and cryptid. This is a real monster hunter right here in David Weatherly, EerieLights.com. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned as we start to take this home on Spaced Out Radio.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from vans to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night, where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, And the 4 million Scoville unit, Bumble, we're going in hot. Real hot. Coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby. And tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce. Available now at kajans.com. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate you taking your important time to hang out with us. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and much more. Follow us on Instagram, our brand new page, Spaced Out Radio Show, and of course on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Speaking of the news, oh yeah, it's that time again. We're going to do this, and here we go. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the downright lucky. A Tanzanian miner and a father of 30, yes, a father of 30, has become a millionaire overnight after he discovered 2 huge gemstones worth about 2.4 million pounds. The government handed Saniniu Laser a check for 7.74 billion Tanzanian shillings, or the equivalent of 2.4 million pounds, for the dark violet blue stones, each of them about the size of a forearm, during a trading event in the northern region of Manyara. Lazier discovered the chunks in one of the tanzanite mines in the north of the country, which are surrounded by a wall to control cross-border smuggling of valuable minerals. Oh, yeah. Oh, these are just gorgeous, too. There will be a big party tomorrow, Laser says, who has 4 wives and 30 children. Yes, I want half. 52-year-old said he would slaughter a cow to celebrate his good fortune. He vowed to use some of his earnings to build a school and a shopping mall in his community, adding that many locals can't afford to pay for their children's education. Awesome. Love that. But he insisted that his lifestyle would not change and that he would continue to look after his herd of 2,000 cows. The first gemstone weighed 20 pounds, while the second weighed 11 pounds. A mines ministry spokesperson said before Lazier dug out the chunks last week, the largest tanzanite stone ever recorded was just 7 pounds. Tanzanite is an ultra-rare gemstone found only in a small northern region of the East African nation. Lazier was pictured on Tanzanian television being presented with a large check after the Bank of Tanzania bought the gemstones in a ceremony yesterday. President John Magufuli phoned to congratulate Lazier live on television. This is a confirmation that Tanzania is rich, Magufuli told Minerals Minister Dodo Biteko. And Tanzania last year set up trading centers around the country to allow artisanal miners to sell their gems and gold to the government. Artisanal miners are not officially employed by any mining company and usually mine by hand. Magufuli inaugurated the wall around Tanzanite mining concessions in northern Tanzania in April 2018 in an attempt to control illegal mining and trading activities. At the time, he said 40% of Tanzanite produced was being lost due to illegal mining. Oh, this is just great. Good for him. Building a school. Those kids over there are going to get a great education now. Fantastic. Fantastic. I hope he follows through with that. If you could create a toilet worthy of space travel, what would it look like? Oh, I have a picture in mind. Yeah. One of those plush seats. None of that hard plastic. And always cool. Nothing worse than sitting down to do your business and you got a warm seat on there. NASA, by the way, and this is a true question, NASA is preparing to return to the moon by 2024, and it needs to develop a new way for astronauts to go about their business on their journeys to the lunar surface and back. NASA issued a call asking for ideas for the ultimate space toilet with the Lunar Loo Challenge. The winner of the Space Toilet Challenge could win $35,000 for a top concept. Although space toilets are already in use, the International Space Station is scheduled to get an upgrade soon. They are designed for microgravity only. Microgravity is when there's weightlessness in space, and NASA's toilet tech has taken care of that problem already, but the new toilets need to be able to work in lunar gravity as well. Lunar gravity is approximately 1/6 of Earth's gravity, so our waste moves a little differently on the moon. Intriguingly, I want to see how that happens. In addition to having the new toilet function in both microgravity and lunar gravity, it has to adhere to a set of strict specifications. It must have a mass of less than 15 kilograms in Earth's gravity, occupy a volume no greater than 0.12 meter cubed, consume less than 70 watts of power, operate with a noise level of less than 60 decibels, which is no louder than an average bathroom fan, and accommodate both female and male users of different shapes and sizes. While we may know how to make space toilets, we recognize that there are a lot of innovations going in waste management, from the no-flush toilet to waterless toilets and more, said Mike Interbartolo, project manager for the Lunar Loo Challenge. Yeah, he goes, so we wanted to expand our knowledge base by using this challenge to find the unknowns that might be out there. We are looking forward to seeing what the crowdsourcing community can come up with its out-of-the-box thinking and bringing different perspectives on how to do the business in a comfortable environment. Is it really comfortable up there? I honestly want to know now. I want to know. If you've been to space or plan on going to space, let me know. Sticking with NASA, this is one of those about time movements. All right? NASA plans to immortalize Mary W. Jackson on one of its trailblazing albums portrayed in the hit film Hidden Figures. On Wednesday, NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine announced that the agency's Washington, D.C. headquarters complex will now be named after Jackson, who became the first black woman to work as an engineer at NASA in 1958. Jackson, who was a mathematician and an aerospace engineer, joined NASA at the Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia, working in its segregated West Area Computing Unit, where she went on to lead initiatives that promoted the hiring of female scientists at NASA. She died in 2005. Mary W. Jackson was a part of a group of very important women who helped NASA succeed in getting American astronauts into space, Bridenstine said. Mary never accepted the status quo. She helped break barriers and opportunities opened for African Americans and women in the field of engineering and technology. The Mary W. Jackson NASA headquarters building sits on the portion of E Street Southwest named Hidden Figures Way. Hidden no more, we will continue to recognize the contributions of women, African Americans, and people of all backgrounds who have made NASA's successful history of exploration possible, added Bridenstine. You know, honestly, she helped get people on the moon. All right? It was her mathematics. This is far too long that NASA recognizes her. But congratulations for them finally doing it. Great, great honor. A 1935 letter signed by Winnie the Pooh, actually written by illustrator Ernest Howard Shepard, fetched triple its expected amount when it sold at an auction for more than $15,000. The note, which included a drawing of the titular bear from A.A. Milne's book series, as well as his best friend Piglet, apologizes to a young fan named Buffkins for missing his birthday party. Dominic Winters, auctioneer, said Buffkins was a childhood nickname for Harry Stopes Rowe, whose mother, Marie Stopes, was a close friend of Shepard. The Stopes Rowe family said Harry would often invite Winnie the Pooh to his birthday parties, and the illustrator would respond with a letter apologizing for the bear's absence. The letter is riddled with intentional Pooh-esque misspellings. We are terribly, spelt with one R, sorry that we shan't be able to come to your party on March 30th, but we are going to be away. Thank you so much for inviting spelled with an E, us. The note reads, the letter had been expected to fetch a top bid of $5,000 when it went under the hammer, but it ended up selling for a total of $15,521. Shepard, who died in 1976, was famed as the illustrator for Milne's books, as well as his 50-year tenure at Punch magazine. A mysterious orange dust coating yards and sidewalks in an Ohio town has been identified by experts as a fungus falling from local pear trees. Well, that's kind of gross. Residents in Sharonville said Bradford pear trees have long been a staple of the town, but this was the first year that an unusual orange dust sprinkled the ground near the trees. It just was so thick, like orange Cheerios or like sidewalk chalk, that somebody ground up and just kind of scattered it under each individual tree so you can just walk up to it, look down the street, and see these little pops of orange all over the sidewalk, resident Julie Dietrich said. Joe Boggs, an assistant professor of horticulture at Ohio State University, said the dust is an orange fungus falling from the trees. Boggs said the fungus might cause allergies in some residents, but most people can expect the worst-case result to be stains on their shoes. It's a good thing we're not plants. Plant diseases don't typically affect people. In fact, I can't think of a single example, so I wouldn't worry about that. But when you do watch the weather, you could see the spore count. He said the dust had recently been found in other Ohio locations as well with similar pear trees. The source of the orange patina appears to be Gymnosporidium clavipes. Yeah, there's words that we never use every day. Maybe we should. Gymnosporangium clavipes. The cedar quince rust fungus. Sometimes I hate scientific words. Actually, I all the time do. Anyways, they're just scary. Just scary. For $125,000, if you got it laying around, maybe under the boards on the floor or something, well, you can ride, potentially, a hydrogen-filled balloon with a small pressurized cabin up into space. Yeah, it will carry research payloads, a pilot, and up to 8 paying civilian passengers into the stratosphere. Yeah, the 650-foot-tall balloon will lift off from leased facilities at NASA's Kennedy Space Center and gently rise to the stratosphere about 19 miles above Earth's surface, not technically outer space, but high enough to see the curvature of the Earth and the darkness of space stretching out beyond. Oh, this would be so cool. It's so gentle, Jane Pointer, co-chief executive of Space Perspective, says that it's much less dynamic than a rocket-based flight. I know that there's a lot of people that either cannot or don't want to go on a rocket, but they really want to go into space. The entire journey would take about 6 hours. The company estimates the balloon craft will rise about 12 miles per hour, cruise in the stratosphere for about 2 hours, then make its slow descent. It will float in the direction of the day's winds and splash down in either the Atlantic Ocean, where there's sharks, or the Gulf of Mexico, where there's sharks, where it will be fished out by a recovery boat. The cabin will feature bathrooms, a bar, seats, and enormous windows to take in the view, according to the statement. The team is already planning to facilitate events on the spacecraft, including a possible out-of-this-world wedding. Spaceship Neptune would be the best place to get married ever, Pointer says. We're committed to fundamentally changing the way people have access to space, both to perform much-needed research to the benefit of life on Earth and to affect how we view and connect with our planets. Today, it is more crucial than ever to see Earth as a planet, a spaceship for all humanity, and our own global biosphere. I want to do this. Who would go with me? It's only $125,000 a shot. That would be something worth saving up for. Sure. But can you imagine? That would be beautiful. Then all of a sudden some UFO comes by. You get the black triangle. And it's right there, staring at you. I wonder if they would have black window coverings dropping the minute UFOs showed up. Could you imagine? Bet you they do. All right, let's move on. All right, where is it here? A man in his early 50s nearly died recently after inserting an eel up his bottom to cure constipation. The man checked himself into a hospital in China after citing abdominal pains. We suspect that there was a foreign object in his abdominal cavity from a CT scan, said Dr. Lee, but we couldn't tell where it came from. What happened next was rather unexpected. An Asian swamp eel was discovered while performing a colonoscopy, resulting in the surgeons having to remove the 40-centimeter long serpent from the patient's butt. The eel had allegedly ripped up the guy's intestines before dying in his abdomen. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. Well, I guess you could, but you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. Dr. Lee says it had to be completely entered by the abdominal cavity and was already dead. Because it was a live eel, the possibility of death is very high if the surgery was not done on a timely fashion. Footage of the removal, if you want to see it, can be seen online. It's super gory, though. So they're just showing a blurred image of the eel instead. The eel inserter dude waited a few days. He waited a few days. What is wrong with him? Yeah, he waited a few days, had the surgery until he fessed up, claiming that he had heard local tales about eels curing constipation. Though he thought he'd give it a shot, see if it worked, needless to say, turned out to be a bad idea. If you learn one thing from me tonight, you might want to avoid putting eels up your butt for constipation. Just saying. X-Lax works good. Go for a smoothie. Ice cream. Who am I? Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages and then read your responses on the air, because we love the audience participation around here. Thanks for the clown, Marty. It's a good one tonight. What would you do if you encountered the Men in Black? Got some good answers here. Start off with Nick. He goes, I would see if I could join their club. I think I would too, Nick. I think I would too. Debbie, they ignored me and tried to get my husband to join something local that didn't exist. Then I saw later younger ones with them or connected to them praying to the fire hydrant at the end of my road. They had blue suits on and would not even look at me after I saw a UFO at tree level over my house. They did have a black car, heavily tinted windows with sunglasses on during the daytime. Another showed in my dream telling me not to speak about a sighting. They aren't totally like what was shown on TV. Thank you, Debbie. Thanks for freaking us out. Gary the Spudger. Look at them in their attention, then look up and pass them and shout UFOs just to see their reaction. Melinda Leslie, who's been a guest on this show, she says she would say, "You again? Really? Back for more?" And then she would take a picture of them. Lynette, I'd kick butt and take names later. Eliminate the threat. No one intimidates a hybrid. Well, I guess Lynette's claiming to be a hybrid. Us reptilian... Okay, here we go. This is where we get all woo. Derek, are you ready for this? Derek on Twitter, are you ready for this? I'm going to read this again. Kick butt and take names later. Eliminate the threat. No one intimidates a hybrid. Us reptilian human hybrids can be very vicious if attacked. I will defend myself. There you go. That's some peak woo right there, my friends. That's what we call peak woo. Get your peak woo t-shirts at our store. Nicole. Well, that's what I would call a snipe hunting situation. Oh, really, Nicole? That's pretty vicious. Dave. I did what they told me to do. Oh, now I want to know. Gail. Encountering men in black would require me answering the door, which I never do if I'm not expecting someone, and I could not be expecting them as I never answer my phone if I don't recognize the name or number. What does it take to just be left alone? Cable Guy Matt, don't look at the flashy thingy. Well, of course not. You'll lose your mind. James, spray paint them orange because it's the new black. Then use them as construction cones and leave them on the side of the highway. If they're aliens, they'll move, though. Scott says he's going to run. John says, break into the Will Smith song, Here Comes the Men in Black. I might even cut a jig. Preston, ask to join them. If that didn't work out, offer them a drink. Catherine says, I do exactly as they tell me to. Gabe, tell them it would be a tragedy if something happened to them. Kevin, I took them to my mining claim. Karen, ask them not to use the flashy thing on me. Oh, but Lynette's back. Oh, Derek, Lynette's back. She goes, I might even eat one of them. Ask them if they like reptilian women. Oh, this is getting good. We may have to bring Lynette on the show now. Let's see here. Ozzy Rob, steal the memory wipe devices and use them on political leaders. Danny Silva from the Silver Record. I'd try and get a job. Don't you have one with TTSA? David, I have told them I wasn't keeping quiet. They did something that hurt me. And let's see. We got time for one more here. Little Richie G. Ask them what they want with me. If I think there's a price they could meet me at, I would be all right doing what they ask, but let's start with my bank account needs first. Then we can talk. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Day. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Thank you, Captain Shirk, for the great SOR Newswire, which can be found on our website, and to David Weatherly for coming on in from EerieLights.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother Is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everybody participating in our chat rooms on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers Club, and our website. And to all the snarkers and snarkats hanging out on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for sharing your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Remember, everybody, the Woo train may have docked for the night, but tomorrow we shall ride again. Your tickets never expire. Your seats are always available. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Have a great night.